Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to go back to basics and just draw using pencils. I got this graphite set by Tombow Mono a good long while ago now actually. I think I've had it for over a year, but as I'm sure a lot of artists do, I have this old favorite set of pencils that I kind of go back to whenever I need to use pencils, and these have just sat in my drawer and I never got around to trying them. But I have heard some absolutely amazing things about these. These are supposed to be really high quality. I like long points on my pencils, and this sharpener is quite good for that, so I'm running it through this quickly and I'm gonna swatch them out just to see exactly how they feel on paper, how they smudge, how they erase. And I think I want to start by drawing hands. It's something I used to be quite good at, just kind of giving everything a try, drawing what I see, and I mean, your hands are what you see the most, so it also tends to be the one thing that a lot of people have a problem with, but it's also kind of part of the fun, part of the challenge of it, just to do something that's kind of difficult but should come out really good. And I'm using Bristol vellum paper, which is very smooth. I started with the hardest pencil because it leaves the kind of lightest marks and it's the easiest to erase. So if I get any proportions wrong or anything, there's absolutely no marks in the paper when I erase it. And then obviously I'll go deeper and deeper with softer pencils when I need more kind of color, more shading. I've had to really zoom in here because the 4H pencil is so light, you can barely see anything on the page. But that's really one of the benefits of starting with a hard pencil, because like I said, any mistakes and it's easy to kind of adjust. And I like to progressively move to softer pencils as I go. I don't really need to go through all of the different hardnesses on the one drawing. That's kind of for different things. So I've jumped straight into a B pencil, and I just want to get, now that I have the outlines down, I want to make sure that I get them crisper and I can see what I'm doing before I get into the shading. When it comes to shading, I know where the darkest areas will be in the shadows, so I want to block them out right away so they're easy to kind of see from my eye to figure out how to kind of keep the detail in them. But that's another reason why I don't immediately block them out with the darkest color, because if I were to just shade this, I know it's really dark and you almost can't see anything on the underside of the hand, but if I were to just block it out with the darkest kind of shade that I can get, it would look flat. So you don't really have any flat surfaces on hands, because even in the shadows there's some tiny portions of kind of reflected light that highlight all the kind of curves in the hand, which is part of why they're complicated to draw, but it's also part of the fun in figuring it out. So I've left tiny little slithers of light in between the fingers that are in the shadow, so they don't all kind of blend into one large mass. And I might need to use an eraser later to kind of highlight certain areas, and the pads of the palm, you can kind of like, I mean, you might be looking at a really dark area, but you can still see the shape within the shadows. So the way I do that is by gradually getting darker on the shadow areas. So now that I kind of put down where my shadows and lights are, at the moment I haven't colored in any of the light areas, but they're not going to be paper white either. And the light areas also have some shadows in them, so it's a bit of a kind of back and forth with shading. I've now switched to a 2B pencil to kind of gradually darken the shadows that I'm working on. So these are going to be the darkest areas, but again, I'm highlighting areas that I won't notice. At this stage, I can just kind of press slightly harder on the pencil to make those lines darker, but also I'm leaving a slightly lighter kind of shading on the opposite edge of that darkest line that I've put down. This lets me separate the areas within the shadows as I go. Another thing I wanted to talk about is blending. So when I put down the first kind of layer of shadows in the lightest tone, but it was still just blocking out the first kind of bits of shadow, I immediately blended them out. Now I do this because I want to soften them, and also because it smooths out the paper so it can take more layers of pencil. Now my first layer I used the blending stump, but the problem with the blending stump is it's good for some things, but that pointy end, even when you use the flat edge of it, it only kind of uses a very thin sliver of that edge. And what it ends up doing is giving you kind of patchy blending, which is hard to control. So generally what I prefer to do, and what I switched to my next layer of blending, is using a tissue. This is something I used to do quite a lot. Now it's really important never to blend with your fingers, because our hands produce this kind of natural oil within the skin. And once that mixes in with the graphite, it can not only change the color, but it changes the paper. So it's better to use any kind of soft tissue will work, and I just wrap it around the tip of my finger so it lets me control the edge. This does tend to have slight effect of going over the line sometimes, but as you saw, it's quite easy to clean up the edges with an eraser and just have a very kind of soft blended look. I don't always blend out everything, so while I'm still drawing, I will blend out different layers. The first layer of shadow, then the second layer where I've put some color down onto the lighter areas like here, and I start with the lighter areas. This keeps the tissue cleaner, and then I go onto the darker areas because I don't want to move the color around. I don't want to kind of bring the darker shading into the lighter areas, which can be lifted off with a putty rubber later if it happens by accident, but generally I kind of prefer to do the light areas first and the dark areas. And here I'm just using the putty rubber gently to highlight certain areas of light. And I'm dabbing it because I don't want to erase anything I've put down. I just want to lift off some of the color and bring in highlights around the kind of muscles of the fingers and around the curvature of the fingers, and it kind of makes it pop, it brings it to life. Now I'm treating this hand the same as I did the last one. I'm starting to deepen the shadows with a medium soft pencil. I've gone for a 3B this time. And now sometimes when I draw, I will do all the kind of, like I started with an H and I did both hands. Then I grabbed a B and I kind of brought them out a little bit on both hands. But then I started working on one hand at a time because the softer pencils smudge more, so I didn't want to go in with a really soft pencil and end up having to lean on this hand to finish the first hand and have it smudge. So I did finish the one on the left first, and now I'm doing the one on the right, and kind of deepening the shadows gradually. And after using this medium soft pencil, the final shadows are in a 6B, which is the softest pencil for this set. And I have to say the 6B does give a decent amount of color, and also I haven't burnished, so basically this paper can take more layers even than what I've given, but this is just all I need in this case. I should mention I rarely if ever burnish with graphite because it leaves this sheen on the paper. And I find the way you can avoid this is just by never pressing too hard on your pencils. So if you need to deepen the color, just layer them. So I can use the softest pencil, and if I feel like I need that depth of darkness, what I would do is just have more layers of that soft pencil gently applied rather than pressing on the pencil and ending up with like that shiny graphite effect. Now the shading's done, I just soften it up by blending and clean up the edges. Edges are really important. Even if it's the tiniest little bit out, it kind of affects how the drawing looks as a whole. and I've kind of did what I mentioned earlier, and I slightly smudged a darker area into a lighter area, but I'm just cleaning it up with a putty rubber and minding the contours of a hand. I'm also putting back a few little touches of reflected light in a darker area on the back of the hand here. And well, this is about it. I think I messed this a little bit up, but it's easy to just blend it back and get the shadow back and kind of fix it. So it's a very fluid process. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more random art. Thanks again. See you soon.